What's up, guys? LQ here with the LQ Review, here to talk about Picard. Picard Season 1, Episodes 9 and 10. Yeah, I kind of held off on Episode 9 to talk about them both together, because I knew that it was kind of a two-part finale. So the last review that I've done has been Episode 8. We're doing Episode 9 and 10. Man, this episode made me feel all sorts of feels. Goodness. They really went for the nostalgic stabbing. They stabbed you to death with nostalgia in this. And it's good. It worked. It worked. So episode 9, let me just get episode 9 out of the way, because episode 9 was a lot of setup for episode 10. And episode 9 I honestly didn't love. It was a little on the boring side, a little on the predictable side. A lot of stuff that happened in episode 9 was kind of telegraphed, especially with Soji's sister kind of going bad. You know, all that was kind of telegraphed. It was stuff that I had guessed was going to happen. I did not guess that Brent Spiner was going to make an appearance as Dr. Singh. What is it? Dr. Singh's son? Is that right? Was it his son or his grandson? I think it was his son. That was not expected, and it was fun. It was fun because Dr. Singh in the series was always kind of antagonistic, and here this guy, we kind of sensed that he was going to be antagonistic, but the relationship started being friendly, and then it kind of went to antagonistic, and then it kind of went back to friendly. There was kind of a this version of Brent Spiner's Dr. Singh kind of operated in a bit of a gray area as far as, was he an antagonist or a protagonist? And that was kind of fun to see Brent Spiner be able to play with the same character in a different way. I know it's not the same character, but it essentially is the same character as Dr. Singh. So that was all good, but for the most part, episode 9 left me kind of underwhelmed. I was underwhelmed with it, and I was thinking, man, I hope episode 10 can knock it out of the park, because episode 9 was kind of underwhelming. Episode 10 knocked it out of the park. Now, I will admit that nostalgia is a powerful tool against me. I'm a nostalgic person. I am. And there was a lot of nostalgia in this, but I think it all worked. And there's sometimes there's nostalgia that does not work. They can pour it on without any kind of context. There was context to this. They were building on the world that had already been established. And that's why it works. That's when nostalgia works. Not when you throw it in, not when you sprinkle it on something that you've already made, but when it's built in and it comes organically as part of the world that's already been built. And that's what they did here, and it worked wonderfully. Yeah, there was some fan service that didn't really have to be there. The whole Riker thing, as much as I loved it, and by the way, I loved seeing Captain Riker show up in command of the fleet. I loved it. But how realistic was that? You know, how realistic was that? How quickly is he going to call Starfleet and say, hey, you got to put me in command of this? And how quickly is Starfleet going to say, oh, yeah, whatever, Riker, come out of retirement and lead our fleet into battle? I don't know about all that. But you forgive it. You forgive it because it's such good fan service. Seeing Riker finally in charge of his own shit. You know, we never really saw that. We know that after Star Trek Nemesis, he was leaving to be the captain of the Titan. We knew that was happening, but we never saw him be captain of the Titan. And to see Riker sitting at the bridge, commanding his own Starfleet ship, the flagship of the Starfleet apparently, that was rewarding. That was rewarding. It didn't make much sense at all, but it was rewarding. You know, the whole plot with Soji being the destroyer, and you know, was she actually going to cause the destruction, and were the Romulans trying to stop it? Were the Romulans were the Romulans acting goodness. Were the Romulans acting for good, or were they not acting for good? All this was kind of convoluted. And there were points where Soji's storyline, being the destroyer or not being the destroyer, that Soji's storyline kind of put Picard in the back seat. And there was a couple times during episode 10 and episode 9 for that matter where I kind of just thought to myself, wow, it's been a while since we've seen Picard. And to be fair, there were moments where Picard kind of took a back seat in his own show. But the show was about him. The show was about his relationships and his development. When you think of Picard, you think of Romulans and Borg. That's Picard's legacy, is the Borg and the Romulans. And this show was so dependent on that legacy. Even when Picard was not on screen, whatever was happening had to do with the Romulans or the Borg, because that was Picard's legacy. And it was fitting that Data's legacy became intertwined with Picard's and became intertwined with the Romulans, because this series was very much about Data's legacy as well. I'm going to get into some heavy spoilers here, so beware. Data was still alive, and we knew Data was still alive at the end of Star Trek Nemesis. We knew he was. They said as much. Geordi had said that Data uploaded his memory engrams into B4. We knew that. And we knew that those memory engrams were extracted from B4. We knew that. That was something we already knew. So we knew that Data's consciousness was alive somewhere. We knew this to be true. I thought at the beginning of Picard we would find out that Data was alive. That Data was just alive and walking around. That's what I thought was going to happen. Because I had always believed after Nemesis that they would be able to modify B4 and just have B4 become Data. That's not what they did, obviously. And Data's consciousness existed more along the lines of in Disk. But when Picard dies at the end of this, and like I said, heavy spoilers here, Picard dies, they're able to upload Picard's consciousness into Data's memory engrams. Or they're able to upload them together. I don't know the technical part behind it, but Picard, his consciousness was able to sit down with Data's consciousness and have a conversation. And we got to see Data dressed as he was in Star Trek Nemesis when he died. And the conversation that they had, it just had me feeling all kinds of feels. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful moments of Star Trek that I've ever seen. This conversation between Picard and Data. Picard is dead. Data wants to die, and that's where he's at. That Data even says, "I want to be disconnected completely." And Picard says, "Do you want to die?" He says, "No, I don't want to die. I want to die knowing that I lived." And what he means by that is he wants to know, he wants to feel what those seconds before death are like. And know that he had actually lived. I mean, that's some deep philosophical stuff that Star Trek is very well known for, and I love it when Star Trek goes to those deep philosophical areas. And it was moving. It was moving as a Star Trek fan. Star Trek: The Next Generation was my Star Trek, and it was moving as a Star Trek fan to see that moment and to see Data die. I never thought that Data's death in Nemesis was particularly earned. I felt that it was this is the 10th Star Trek movie. Somebody's got to die. Who is it going to be? We'll just kill Data. It didn't feel earned to me. This felt earned. So yes, Data dies again. He dies again in Star Trek Picard. At the end of Star Trek Picard. But finally, his death felt earned. And those moments when we see him fade away, those were just hard to watch as somebody who grew up with Star Trek. It was hard to watch because it felt like, all right, I'm really losing Data this time. I'm actually losing him. That was rough. But we already knew Picard was not going to die because season 2 has been greenlit. So Picard, yes, he died, but his consciousness was kind of, I don't, if they explained it well, I must have missed it. I was under the perception that they kind of put his consciousness into a android body similar to Soji's. If anybody can confirm that or has what actually happened, let me know. But my sense is that that's what happened. That they put his consciousness in an android body similar to Soji's. So, all in all, loved it. I loved it. And Picard now is at the command of a crew again. And this season ends with him at the command of a crew. What's the next journey going to be? I don't know. I can't wait to see season 2 now. Where are they going to go from here? I think it's going to be probably more Borg heavy than this season was, because there was still some unanswered stuff as far as what was going on with the artifact. Potentially what was going on with 7 of 9. Looks like 7 of 9 is part of the crew now. And I think there's areas to explore with the Borg. I also think there's areas to explore with Q. They got to bring Q back. They got to. And I think it'd be foolish if they didn't. So I'll be watching for that because I want them to bring Q back. But yeah, as a series, as a whole, all 10 episodes, really good. Really good. It didn't always feel like Star Trek. It didn't. Sometimes it felt like they were trying too hard to make it relevant to today's audiences. You know, Star Trek doesn't have F-bombs. Star Trek doesn't have people addicted to substances. Star Trek, their society was supposed to be about evolving beyond that stuff. And now all of a sudden they've come back to it. And the only reason they've come back to that stuff is because they're trying to get viewers. So I don't like that. That doesn't feel like Star Trek. But as a sequel to Star Trek The Next Generation, it works very well. It works very well. And I 99% of it was very well done. That 1% was the garbage they put in to appeal to today's audiences. So, and you know, whatever. I mean, Star Trek has to start bringing in new viewers. They have to. So, whatever. I can live with it. Don't like it, but I can live with it. So overall, guys, what did you guys think of the season finale, the two-parter of Star Trek Picard, and what did you think of the series as a whole? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your take on it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And as always, I appreciate you joining me here at the OK Review, where we talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff we love to talk about. And until next time, we'll see you later.